Good morning and welcome. Happy Monday. President's Day, yeah. President's Day. Markets are closed today. What? Probably the banks are closed. You know, maybe the government's even closed. I'm pretty sure that it is. It is still, I guess, a federal holiday, but we are here. I hope it finds you well out there. Our toll-free number, 800-951-0592. The website at allamericangold.com. And, of course, the physical delivery of gold and silver. It is what we do. And I'll tell you what, it apparently is becoming very difficult to do. The latest out of London, it's now months before delivery will get there. But, Jason, here's the problem. It's not that they're out of gold, okay? At least that's what they say. Hey, we're not out of gold, but, gold's heavy. Well, I guess when you're buying it a metric ton at a time, I guess, sure. Right? That would, I guess, make sense a little bit. I mean, your wife could walk around with $1 million of gold in her purse, no problem. And nobody would even know she had it. But they just don't have, you ready for this? They don't have enough vans to put the gold in, to drive it to the airport, to put it on the airplane, to fly it to whoever it is that wants to have it. That has been the problem. So if you believe that, I also have oceanfront property right here in Arizona, at a really good price. But that is the latest over the weekend. A lot of articles about revaluing gold and what the Trump administration may be wanting to do with that. And remember, it was Bloomberg last week that said, hey, we're trying to figure out what's going on with why the vaults in London have emptied out and people taking all of this physical delivery. I will say now, Bloomberg did not say anything about any vans. Yeah, and not having enough fans. That wasn't part of their story. It wasn't, Jason, oh my gosh, gold's heavy, and we can't drive it to the airport. We're just, apparently, maybe all the rental vans were being used in London. I guess that must be, there must be a high demand for rental vans. But no, Bloomberg didn't say that was any problem. They said, hey, listen, there's only two reasons. Number one, there's a physical shortage of gold. Kind of makes sense if it's taking 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 months to get delivery. Maybe that would make sense. And I will say that based on the articles out this weekend, it may be that the United States may be getting ready to revalue its gold to help with the deficits. Now, how does it help? Because if you sold it, that could help, but that's not what they're going to do. But they just want to revalue it because it's an asset. So right now, the gold, if you guys have been paying attention, $42.22. That was the price of gold when Richard Nixon closed the gold window. $42.22. That's what is listed on the balance sheet. Obviously, that makes it worth about $11 billion. If we have it. By the way, that's another thing gaining steam. Are we actually finally going to audit the gold at Fort Knox? Maybe. I don't know. If we're going to revalue it, I think we need to. But if you went to $2,900, Jason, you'd add $750 billion to the balance sheet as an asset. I mean, that's not insignificant. But we're going to cover both of these. So a lot going on, even though the markets are closed today. Calls for an audit of the Fed. Remember, Ron Paul wanted to do this. Now, Rand Paul kind of, this is something that really kind of came out of the internet, and we haven't heard Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, shut it down. Now Rand Paul, Ron Paul's son, is saying, yeah, let's do this. Let's make sure we've got what we said. Let's audit the Fed. And all of a sudden, this revaluation is really starting to pick up steam, and we're going to break down why that may be. There's another reason this may be beneficial to the Federal Reserve and what it's doing. But, Jason, kind of interesting that London's saying we just have a van shortage. That's the problem. Bloomberg says, nah, you probably got a gold shortage. You leased out, and how does that work? Jason, it looks like London leased out more gold than what they have.
Well, and you're talking up to 6 months for delivery. I'll just say this. If you had just 3 months you had to wait for delivery, what could happen in 3 months for them to say, you know what, we just don't have it for you? Right, Joe? Anything can happen in 3 months when it comes to – this is why you physically, in my opinion, you should physically possess this, have it where you know you can get to it. I'm not a very trusting fellow, so to speak, so physically possessing the gold is just a great way to go. And these guys that are trying to get it right, Joe, trying to cash it in, a lot can happen in 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, 16 weeks. Suddenly your delay goes from 2 months to 6 months to 8 months to a year, right, Joe?
Yeah, exactly. When we get back, we're going to talk about this and a few other things. Stay with us. 800-951-0592, Joe and Jason of this Monday. And I'm smiling because it's happening little by little, even if they don't revalue. The fact that they're talking about it tells you a lot. The fact that there is overwhelming physical demand. We knew about the demand out of, we'll call it the BRICS, for lack of a better term, but it's really more than just BRICS. But now, with the banks heavily involved here, another warning for Mark Cabana. This is, I will say, of all the bank analysts, when it comes to the Federal Reserve, he's the guy. Okay, he's the guy you need to pay attention to. Why is he the guy? Because he has proven over the last decade to be the guy that seems to be like, wait a minute. Hey, Federal Reserve, what are you guys smoking? What the heck are you doing? We're going to have a problem in the Treasury markets. And he's done it over and over and over again. He's out over the weekend. No, it's I can't give you all the intel because it's a paid thing. These guys gotta, they make money selling stuff and whatnot. But I'll give you the gist of it. But before we do, let's look at I know Wall Street's closed today. Gold is not. There was a nice sell-off on Friday. Some profit taking, if you will. Right now, gold's up $18, $29.01. Silver up 16 cents, 32.28. Remember, we keep telling you, if you got money sitting in the bank, call us, put it into gold and silver. It's better than it sitting in the bank. You got big IRAs. Take a portion of that and call us and get a precious metals IRA going. By the way, at the before the show was out, we're going to have two great specials. One will be a gold special that will be below cost, but there's only going to be one of it. It's a very unique item. I've never sold one. Matter of fact, not only have I never sold one before, I've never seen one until today. If you're on YouTube or Rumble, you'll be showing it to you. And then we'll have what I like to call the just in case. I don't want to say prepper types, but it is kind of a prepper type special. That's going to have some silver and some gold in it, and it's going to be affordable. So get ready for those at 800-951-0592. So when it comes to what is going on, right, is London out of gold? Did they lease out more gold than what they have? Here's what's interesting about that. Maybe lease rates have skyrocketed. In other words, there's people out there, hey, I want to control some gold, but I may or may not want to take delivery. Right? But I want to lease it. I don't want to do a paper contract. I'm probably taking delivery of this thing. I want to lease it. I want to borrow it for a little bit. It's exploded. Right? Now, central banks like London, as an example, they can make a few dollars leasing out some of the gold that's there. Well, that seems to now become a big problem. Is there a van shortage? Probably not. Right? Probably not. But when we look at the U.S. government now deciding that it's trying to figure out how to cut costs, I'm going to round up just a little bit. Let's just use $800 billion. Okay, so that would be about how much the government would gain. By the way, we'd gain 750 at 2,900, 750 billion plus the 11 billion that was already valued at. You got to add that into a little over 760 billion. Let's just call it $800 billion. $800 billion. And would that be enough as far as the revaluation goes? And there's been speculation because Scott Bessent has said that he would like to, quote, and I'm quoting here, monetize the asset side of the U.S. balance sheet. Well, obviously, everybody and their mother was like, what could those assets possibly be? Well, gold, right? Because you're talking about assets on the balance sheet. There's not very many. Now, they're saying that the idea, certain unnamed sources, if you want to believe them, which I don't, says that, well, it's not that serious of a discussion. Maybe, maybe not. Now, there may be another reason why. The U.S. Federal Reserve has an asset liability problem. Okay, right now, the U.S. Federal Reserve has a 179 to 1 asset to liability ratio. That's not very good, right? Hey, for every $179, we've got $1 of asset. To give you an idea, U.S. banks have about 11 to 1. Tells you how bad, this thing. That's why we always worry about a debt crisis in the banks. They only got $1 for $11 of debt, right? That's not great. Jason, if they revalued gold, all of a sudden, the asset ratio for the Fed could move to like 12 to 1, right? And put it closer in line with the major U.S. banks. Now, selling the reserves isn't on the table, but it would give the appearance that the asset to liabilities on the Federal Reserve's balance sheet would look a whole lot better for the world. And in theory, that would drive down the 10-year note yields because, hey, look how much better our balance sheet all of a sudden looks. And that may have the possibility of driving down the 10-year note. Remember, that's one of the things Scott Bessent says he wants to do. So when we look at it, one possible reason, Jason, is to make the assets and liability ratio look a whole lot better at the Federal Reserve.
Well, we'll see, right? We'll see what happens. When it comes to the Federal Reserve, I don't have very much trust. And do you really think an audit? Rand Paul, you were talking earlier. Do you really think that's the Fed's really going to seriously allow an audit? Because what was the last one? The last audit was 1974, and they only got to see like one vault, right? You've told the story many times. You can kind of still see the coins inside the bars. So I don't know, Joe. When it comes to the Fed, I don't really trust a lot of what's said around that topic because they are the ones that are making the decisions.
September 23rd, 1974, it opened one of the 15 vaults so they could look at it. It was a photo op. It really, I don't even know that they even audited anything. They just let people come in and look at it. It was roughly 2 hours. It was 6% of the alleged amount held. The bars were being passed around for the camera, were matched to a serial number, assayed or tested for purity. Now here's the one thing. We don't know whose gold it was. Was it our gold? Foreigners' gold? Was it leased out gold? There was no independent verification. By the way, not all the gold's at Fort Knox. Right now, I think there's like 4,500 of the 8,100 tons. What they do now is they do what they call a vault seal check. This is what they do. They go to the door, and think of it this way: if you're ever in trucking, you would understand this analogy. So let's just say there's a truckload and it's going to Walmart. Okay, the guy pulls his truck into the warehouse. They load the truck with the pallets of food. They shut the door. They put a seal on it, and it's got a number. Right, and then he goes and delivers it to the store. The store breaks the seal, writes the number down, unloads their stuff. Right, that's their way of saying, hey, the trucker didn't pull over on the side of the road, open the back of his truck, let his buddies take a bunch of stuff, and then go to the Sprite, show up at the store. That kind of thing. So they just do this. They go and look at the number on the door. It's the same number that was on the door last year. Call it good. That's what they've been doing since 1974. Obviously, it doesn't take a whole lot of genius to figure out, hey, just make a bunch with this number on it, and we'll just borrow some and slip a new one in there. But anyway, there is talk now. Rand Paul is behind it. They want to do a full and complete audit. And one of the things that is interesting about this is, at least from what we were told, a bunch of the gold isn't even in deliverable form. In other words, it doesn't meet the purity that is needed for it to be sold, let's say, on the COMEX, as an example. When they took the gold from the citizenry in 1933, they melted it down just enough, apparently. How do we know this? Because this is what they said when they had opened that vault, that's what the gold looked like, that you could actually see in some of the gold, like the Lady Liberty's face or the Indian head or whatever it may be. You can actually see it in the coins. But I would think if we're going to revalue it, that this would probably need to happen. This is this is by far, and I've been doing this since, 2003. The biggest momentum I've seen for an audit of the gold reserves that the United States holds. And if they're not going to revalue it, Jason, there's no reason for them to do. Why do it? Right at this point, right? You haven't done it since 1974. We're not going to start doing it now. Well, the Fed's biggest watchdog, he's got a thought about it. 800-951-0592. I'm going to tell everybody after the next commercial break, we are going to be running our specials for the day, and they are just another incredible opportunity. Do what you got to do. Stretch your fingers out. Right? I don't want you to get a cramp. If you guys are one of those people that, hey, I don't have my phone next to me, I don't want you to pull a hammy, run into the phone. So take your time, get next to your phone, get ready to go, do your mental exercises, that you need to do. If you don't have our number pre-programmed in, maybe put it in there. Just don't hit the send button yet. 800-951-0592. So to review, over the weekend, the Bank of England, trying to stop the madness, came up with, we don't have enough fans to get this stuff to the airport. Okay, that didn't go over very well. Most people now have accepted that we probably have a physical shortage in the markets occurring as we speak. That seems to be the most prevalent thing. Now, they're using the tariffs as the reason for it. I think it just highlights how close we are, that any reason can now cause these shortages. On top of that, the revaluation of the U.S. gold reserves is now getting even more attention. More people trying, what would be the advantages? And on both sides, some people are saying, hey, it's not worth it. Right? Yeah, okay, you revalue it. Maybe it can look better for a little bit. Right? Okay, yeah, it's a one-time change to the balance sheet, and I guess that can be helpful for a few months, but it's not like it's worth $10 trillion. Well, at least not yet, right? The higher the gold price goes, the better the move is. And then on top of that, the auditing of Fort Knox seems to be gaining a lot of support, not only in Congress, but just in general. Hey, you know what? That may be a good idea. Right? Maybe a good idea. Put the market at ease. Let people know, well, we got 8,000 done, right? I mean, that could be beneficial. But then Mark Cabana came out this week. And now, why is he so good? Well, he used to be a member of the New York Fed. Now he works at Bank of America. And he was talking about the idea that the Treasury may indeed shock the world by letting gold float. In other words, hey, if gold goes up, the balance sheet goes up, right? Gold goes down, the balance sheet goes down. This would be very supportive for gold. I think this is what they would do. I don't think they'll set a price of like $2,900. I don't think they will. I think they'll just say let it float. Because I think they already know, hey, it may be worth $800 billion today. But in 5 years, it could be worth $1.6 trillion. In 10 years, it could be worth, who knows, right? It could be worth $3 trillion. I don't think they're worried about it being worth, say, $400 billion, right? I don't think they're worried it's going backwards. But he said, and this is the only part I can tell you, because like I said, he's got a pay thing. This is only for paid people, and if I say it, I get in trouble. But take my word for it. U.S. asset monetization and gold remarking, reevaluating. He admits that he doesn't know the details of the plan. But this would definitely be part of non-traditional U.S. funding options that Scott Bessent, who's the new Treasury Secretary, has talked about. So, Jason, I think Cabana's kind of saying, hey, listen, the people that I talk to at the Fed, my friends there, and the people I know at the Treasury, they're saying, hey, yeah, this is a real possibility, and it's non-traditional. But remember, they're no longer trying to convince the Fed to lower interest rates, but somehow they want to hold the 10-year note lower. And Cabana says, hey, this could achieve this non-traditional thing, if nothing else, for a little while.
Well, and Joe, I'm listening to everything you're saying about doing the count of gold over there in the Fort Knox. I don't know, the thing that's swimming around my head as you're talking is I'm thinking, remember all that gold that's coming back from London and all that melting that's going on, all the smelting of it? Just makes me wonder if it's like, uh-oh, they're going to come look at this thing. We better fill this thing back up quick. That's what I've been thinking as you're talking. It's like maybe all this gold that's showing up and being smelted and being, it's like, hey, maybe they're missing half of it, right? Maybe they're missing a chunk of it, right? Get it filled back up.
I don't want to think that way, but I get why people would, right? I get why people would, right? Why is this all getting melted? And Jason, we've been telling you, heck, they're melting down gold eagles. Who does that? Who does that? So let's look at what the options are. Ready? So the government, obviously, the one thing that's not on there, on the balance sheet, is the government's ability to tax. Right? Right? But they can't, right? At any point, they can just say, well, screw it. We're just going to raise taxes to fix this problem when we're talking about the debt ratio. Outside of that, they do have plant, property, and equipment known as PP&E, right? And we do know that the government does have, they talk about, oh, we got all these empty buildings. Okay. They do. Not enough to really move the needle, right? The ones that they don't need doesn't really move the needle, right? They can maybe get, 10, 15 billion. Of course, commercial real estate, not the greatest. Fannie and Freddie, right? The mortgages that are in Fannie and Freddie, and then, of course, gold. That's it. Those are the three choices. Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason, we get your dialing fingers ready. We'll be back right after the break. 800-951-0592. Joe and Jason. And again, we're breaking down what is going to happen to the United States gold holdings. And we're going to finish that up. But first, I want to get to the specials. On the gold side, I took this in last week. This is a Canadian proof set. The Canadians, and I've said this on the air many a times, they probably make the coolest gold and silver coins in the world. They really do. They take a lot of pride in it. This is a 5-coin set. So it has the typical 1 ounce, half ounce, quarter ounce, 10th ounce. That's the typical 4-coin set. But this is a 5th. In it, they've also added a 1/20th of an ounce. This is 1.9 ounces of gold. It comes in this like felt maroon box with some gold pinstriping, and then inside of that box is another box, and I'm holding the coins up for you to see. If you're out on YouTube or Rumble, you can see them now. Inside of this nice box, you see the 5 coins. There's the certificate of authenticity that goes along with it. They only made 600 of these. And to just let you know, the price on this is $5,700. To give you an idea, cost on this right now, you got gold at $2,900. So take $2,900 times 1.9 ounces, $2,510 if you blowtorched it. If I was to buy this from the wholesaler, because this is a proof, it's about $200 per ounce added to the cost, or $380. This would cost me $5,890. And Jason, if we would go out, we'd probably sell this thing for like $6,300, $6,400. It's the only one I've got. It's $5,700. The first guy, this is live. I got it here in Phoenix. I can ship it up to Colorado. If you're an out-of-towner, I'll throw in the shipping as well. So $5,700, and here's the box, by the way, that it's going to come in, so you can see that as well. $5,700 takes it at 800-951-0592. And by the way, that's about exactly what I can get from the wholesalers on it. So you're buying this at what a wholesaler would pay for it. The other special that I only have 25 of these. You're going to get a roll of U.S. Silver Eagles. That's 21-ounce U.S. Silver Eagles. And a 1-gram gold bar. So you're going to get 20 ounces of silver, a gram of gold, $875. And like I said, most places around, out there, Jason, you're talking about something close to $1,000. $875 for a roll of U.S. Silver Eagles and a 1-gram bar of gold at $875. 9510592. So some pretty cool specials on President's Day. I know a lot of people are probably off today and aren't listening. They're going to miss out. But those of you that aren't, take advantage at 800-951-0592. But I want to finish this. So why do it? Why revalue? What's the advantage? Well, let me explain how this works. It's kind of a weird relationship with the Treasury and the Fed. By revaluing, they essentially, the Treasury could get $700 billion, give or take, from the Federal Reserve. What? How? I mean, that's like quantitative easing. And that's exactly what the win is. It's one thing to reset the asset. Okay, and we've talked about that. Hey, all of a sudden, we got $700 billion more in assets. Right? That's more than they could get for Fannie and Freddie, right? Way more than they can get by the, it sounds like you can sell the Pentagon as an example, right? You can't do that, right? Way more than you can get from selling property. But where's that just is making a piece of paper look better. I don't know if that's enough. That's not enough. But this is, see how this works is the Fed. And it's really a way, it's interesting, but on the Federal Reserve, they hold what a gold certificate. And by that gold certificate being revalued, they could then turn around and give the Treasury, the $700, $800 billion, just like they would have with quantitative easing, but without having to do anything, right? They wouldn't have to increase their balance sheet, right? They could just hand the Fed, here's $800 billion bucks. 800-951-0592, the 5-piece Canadian proof set. It's just, it's a steal at $5,700. You get 1.9 ounces, and these things are incredible. I mean, you almost can see your reflection in the gold. That is how great of a job the Canadians did with this. Each one of the coins, by the way, not only does it come in its own box, but each coin has its own protective case on it, so you won't be able to damage it and whatnot. That's $5,700. We only have one of them. And kind of like the Prepper Special. A roll of Silver Eagles, 21-ounce U.S. Silver Eagles, and a 1-gram gold bar. We only had 25 of those, or $875 at 800-951-0592. And now we finally figured out what's the real win by revaluing U.S. gold. It is not, well, we get to make a piece of paper look better. Look, it makes our balance sheet look better. We know right now the Fed can't lower rates. They can't lower the Fed's funds rate. And really, they can't really do quantitative easing either, because that's bad. That's more inflation. By revaluing the gold, the Federal Reserve can now revalue its gold certificates and essentially hand the $800 billion to the Treasury without having to say we're doing quantitative easing, without having to lower interest rates. $700 billion probably Jason, that would be almost like 2 months worth of expenses when you think about the Treasury. I mean, we're going $300-400 billion in debt every month. That's like giving the Treasury a couple of free months. That is where the win would be, because then in theory you can not have to sell so much debt and get that 10-year note down, which is something that Scott Bessent has said that he wants to do. So I would definitely say, even Mark Cuban is out there saying, hey, listen, there is a win here. And if this inflation continues the way it's going, Jason, this all of a sudden, this option starts to look even more attractive, doesn't it?
Right. I have a feeling it's not going to be quite that simple, though. I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, does that push the gold price higher when they do such a thing? Yeah. Do they set the price high and then someone tries to rig it to where then suddenly the gold price drops? So a huge sell off. I mean, it really get. I'm sure there's a whole lot of questions that they should be answering before they do such a thing, but. Let's see. I mean, maybe they understand the inflation. Maybe they know what's going to happen. And let's just say if they put gold at $3,500 now, if they know that something's going to go off, they're going to be secure. But they don't want to set too high, and then suddenly somebody sells off a bunch of gold, and then suddenly the dollar value is higher than gold.
This is my opinion. I think if they're going to do this, they're going to float it, right? Which is, we'll let the market set the price, but we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, really interesting information coming out as to exactly why it is that this may be all of a sudden on the table. Patriot Radio News Hour. We're done for the day. Jason and I, we're coming right back.